There's something electric about boxing when two undefeated fighters step into the ring.
Oh, vicious right hand! Pedraza goes down!
It's the kind of fight where both men are determined to keep their perfect records intact.
And maybe above the right eye.
But only one can leave the ring with their zero still standing. When two unbeaten champions collide, the stakes couldn't be higher, and the outcome can change the course of both their careers. So, in today's video, we've curated a list of some of the most thrilling matchups where undefeated fighters went head-to-head. Gervonta Davis versus Jose de Pedraza. On January 14, 2017, undefeated superstar Gervonta "Tank" Davis got his first shot at a world title, taking on undefeated Puerto Rican champion Jose Pedraza. Davis had an explosive start to his career, scoring a first-round knockout in his debut and coming into the fight with an impressive 16-0 record, including 15 knockouts. Pedraza, who had been on a similar rise, had a perfect record and most recently won the vacant IBF super featherweight title. Pedraza came out strong in round one, pressing the action, but Davis responded with his explosive speed and power.
Laser left. And it appears Davis' confidence is growing by the second.
Feints and baits him out of position.
As the rounds progressed, Davis continued to outclass Pedraza with sharp uppercuts and right hands, dominating the early exchanges. In round 5, Pedraza had his best moments, trapping Davis on the ropes and landing some clean shots.
Opening up on Davis along the ropes. Packing the body, diversifying his attack.
And he's giving him the wall in between.
Yeah, and some change-ups as well, Paulie. Really,
You know, it makes it much more difficult for Davis at times.
was a 2012 National Golden Gloves champion, but he's in against a Puerto Rican Olympian in Pedraza.
However, Davis regained control in round 6.
Very animated display by both prize fighters here in Brooklyn, much to the delight of the big crowd on hand.
Look of disgust on Davis to throw those shots.
And in the 7th round, he ended the fight with a brutal right hand that sent Pedraza to the canvas.
Up an opportunity for an uppercut just like that. And it's Davis emptying the fusillade on Pedraza. Oh, vicious right hand! Pedraza goes down!
Pedraza rebounded from the loss, winning 2 consecutive bouts before capturing the WBO lightweight title. However, he lost it in his first defense to Ukraine's Vasyl Lomachenko. Pedraza's career has been marked by mixed success with a record of 29-3-1. Meanwhile, Davis remains undefeated in his 29 fights and is now one of boxing's brightest stars. His last fight was a 7th-round knockout over Ryan Garcia, solidifying his place as one of the top fighters in the sport.
Quick uppercut, Ryan's going for the
Inspiration for Calzaghe's left hand. On April 28, 2001, undefeated German contender Mario Veit took on WBO super middleweight champion Joe Calzaghe in a title clash. Veit had just come off a 9th-round knockout victory over Charles Brewer to capture the WBO interim title. Heading into the bout, the WBO's #1 contender had a perfect record of 30-0 with 18 knockouts. Calzaghe, equally undefeated with a 30-0 record and 25 knockouts, had claimed the WBO title in October 1997 by defeating the legendary Chris Eubank, and had successfully defended it 7 times, with his most recent defense against former WBC world champion Richie Woodhall. The fight began with the usual touch of gloves. Both fighters quickly engaged as Veit, standing tall and rangy at 6'3", sought to establish his jab. The opening moments saw both men tangled up, but Veit's long reach could have provided him an advantage had he been able to maintain the distance. Calzaghe, however, was quick to close the gap. Within just 30 seconds of the first round, Calzaghe delivered a devastating overhand left to the body, followed by another shot upstairs, knocking Veit to the canvas. The challenger scrambled to his feet, but Calzaghe wasn't finished. A second left hand sent Veit crashing again, this time harder. Veit's head hit the canvas with force, and his legs buckled.
More inspiration for Calzaghe. A left hand by Calzaghe. Down goes Veit for the second time.
Struggling to regain his balance, Veit was no match for the champion. The referee stepped in and stopped the fight, awarding Calzaghe a first-round knockout victory. Calzaghe retained his WBO super middleweight title. Despite this defeat, Veit bounced back with a 15-fight win streak, claiming the European super middleweight title in 2003. He faced Calzaghe once more in Germany in 2005, but was stopped again in 6 rounds. Veit retired with a respectable record of 49-4. Calzaghe, however, continued his unbeaten run, successfully defending his super middleweight title a record 21 times against 20 different opponents over a span of more than a decade. In 2008, he moved up to the light heavyweight division, where he defeated Bernard Hopkins to claim the Ring Magazine title, defending it against Roy Jones Jr. in his final professional bout. Calzaghe retired with an unblemished record of 46-0. Gary Mason versus Lennox Lewis. In March 1991, undefeated British heavyweight champion Gary Mason faced undefeated European champion Lennox Lewis in a showdown between two unbeaten heavyweights. Mason entered the ring with an unblemished 35-0 record, having won the British heavyweight title in 1989 by knocking out Roy Curry in the 4th round. Mason had briefly retired in 1990 due to a detached retina sustained in his victory over Everett Martin. His most recent win before facing Lewis was a knockout against American contender James Pritchard. Lewis, also undefeated at 14-0 and known for his power, had won every fight but one by knockout. A former Olympic gold medalist from Canada in 1988, Lewis secured his first title fight against Frenchman Jean-Marc Mormec for the European heavyweight title, defeating him by knockout in 6 rounds. The fight between Mason and Lewis was scheduled for 12 rounds, with both fighters having much at stake. Lewis, relying on his speed and jab, kept Mason at bay early on by utilizing his reach. Mason, however, pressed forward relentlessly, landing some solid shots while trying to close the distance. By the 7th round, Mason's right eye was badly swollen, and the fight had become increasingly brutal as Lewis continued to land damaging punches. Despite Mason's resolve to keep going, his corner could only do so much to protect him.
The one really big punch that could turn the fight. All those are going through.
In the 7th round, Mason made a desperate attempt, but the referee stepped in to stop the fight, citing the damage to his eye.
He's putting everything into a do-or-die effort.
This injury effectively ended Mason's career. He would only fight twice more before retiring with a record of 37-1. Lewis, on the other hand, would go on to become one of the most celebrated British heavyweight champions. In 1992, he made history as the first British world heavyweight champion of the 20th century. Over the course of his career, he defeated some of the sport's greatest names and retired with a record of 41-1. Corey Sanders versus Nate Tubbs. On May 21st, 1994, South African Corey Sanders faced American Nate Tubbs in a scheduled 10-round heavyweight bout in South Africa. Sanders entered the fight with an undefeated record of 23-0, 18 of those wins coming by knockout. Tubbs, with a record of 12-1, was less experienced, but proved to be a formidable opponent. Sanders won the opening round, but Tubbs turned the fight around in the 2nd round. Landing a big right hand that knocked Sanders out cold. It was a stunning upset, as Sanders had not expected to be caught so decisively. After the loss, Sanders rebounded, winning his next 13 fights, including victories over former world champions Carlos de Leon and Bobby Shares. In May 2000, Sanders suffered another loss to future champion Hasim Rahman. However, in a major upset, Sanders knocked out Vladimir Klitschko in the 2nd round to win the WBO title. Sanders vacated the WBO title and fought Vitaly Klitschko, for the vacant WBC title in April 2004, but was stopped in the 8th round. His final fight was against Osborne Machimana, where he lost in the first round, ending his career with a record of 42 wins and 4 losses.
There's the left hook. Now Meshimani suddenly comes to life. Throws the left hook.
Mike Tyson versus Tyrell Biggs. On October 16, 1987, undefeated Olympic gold medalist Tyrell Biggs challenged the undefeated and undisputed heavyweight champion Mike Tyson for his title. Biggs had an illustrious amateur career, winning gold medals at the 1982 World Cup and the 1984 Olympics. After compiling a perfect record of 15-0, he earned his shot at Tyson's world title. Tyson, having already made history as the youngest heavyweight champion in 1986, was coming off a dominant win over Tony Tucker, unifying the heavyweight titles. He had firmly established himself as the most feared force in boxing. In the early rounds, Biggs used his reach advantage, fighting behind a long jab to keep Tyson at a distance.
He has found a pattern in Tyrell Biggs that he feints to the right before the punch actually is thrown.
Well, whatever he does, the fact that Tyson has to set up to get that kind of leverage.
But Tyson's relentless pressure eventually broke through, and Biggs struggled to maintain control. Tyson's hooks started to land cleanly, hurting Biggs with several heavy shots. By the 7th round, Tyson's ferocious attack began to take its toll. A vicious left hook sent Biggs stumbling across the ring.
That was a tremendous left hand.
Although Biggs managed to beat the count, Tyson wasted no time, landing another crushing blow that sent Biggs down again. The referee stepped in and stopped the fight, awarding Tyson the victory by knockout and solidifying his status as the world's most feared heavyweight. Biggs never truly recovered from the loss. He fought a few more times but was never able to regain his previous form. He retired with a final record of 30-10. Larry Holmes vs. Jerry Cooney, WBC heavyweight title. Let's rewind the clock to June 11, 1982. It was the heavyweight showdown of the year. Undefeated WBC heavyweight champion Larry Holmes put his title on the line against the up-and-coming Jerry the Gentle Giant Cooney, undefeated challenger. Holmes, the defending champion, entered with a perfect 39-0 record. By 1978, Holmes had already shocked the world, dethroning Ernie Shavers to become the #1 contender. Later that year, Holmes defeated Ken Norton by split decision to claim the WBC heavyweight crown. Holmes went on to defend his title against legends like Ali, Spinks, and Weaver. Cooney, a rising star, entered the fight undefeated at 25-0, but his competition up until this point had been mainly journeymen. Still, his massive knockouts against Jimmy Young and Ron Lyle catapulted him into the title conversation. But it was his 1980 win over former world champion Ken Norton that truly put Cooney on the map. The two men finally met in the ring for an explosive showdown. Holmes, ever the technician, dropped Cooney early in round 2 with a sharp right hand.
Cooney stalking, Holmes dancing, lots of movement. A good blow by Holmes, a good right. And it's called a knockdown.
But Cooney, showing heart, fought back in the next rounds, landing some heavy shots of his own. By round 10, the fight was still competitive, but Cooney's fatigue was beginning to show. Holmes had already started to pull ahead on the scorecards, and things were about to get worse for Cooney.
There's the right. Oh, good. Pair of blows. Larry now trying to bounce, trying to move.
In the 13th round, Holmes unleashed a punishing barrage of punches that sent Cooney to the canvas.
Both men are tired, and Holmes trying to tee off and doesn't have the strength left, I don't think, tonight. Oh, Jerry's ready.
Cooney's corner had seen enough and stepped in to stop the fight, giving Holmes a TKO victory. For Cooney, it was a heartbreaking loss that ended his unbeaten streak. He fought sporadically after that, but it was clear he could never regain the same fire. His last notable fight was a 1990 knockout loss to George Foreman.
Because he's got a minute
over.
Holmes, meanwhile, continued his reign as heavyweight champion until 1985, when he lost his title to Michael Spinks. After a failed attempt to reclaim the crown in 1986, Holmes tried to make a comeback in 1988 against the young Mike Tyson, but was knocked out in the 4th round.
38-year-old Larry Holmes cannot continue that round after round. Oh, a big right hand, and down goes the former champion. He was there running the button.
Holmes would try several more times to win the heavyweight title, but never succeeded. He finally retired in 2002, boasting a record of 69 wins and just 6 losses. Shannon Briggs versus Darrell Wilson on March 15th, 96. Undefeated young heavyweight prospect Shannon Briggs faced undefeated Darrell, doing damage Wilson in what would be dubbed the Night of the Young Heavyweights. Briggs, heralded as the future of the heavyweight division, entered the ring with an unblemished 25-0 record, including 3 consecutive first-round knockouts in his most recent bouts. However, it was Wilson who would surprise the crowd with a shocking turn of events, dropping Briggs with a devastating right hand. Wilson himself came into the fight with an undefeated record of 15 wins, no losses, and 2 draws. But he wasn't given much consideration. His previous victory was an impressive decision over undefeated prospect James Stanton. The fight started at a typical fast pace, with both men throwing punches from all angles. Briggs came out as the aggressor, hoping for another early finish, but Wilson held his own, landing powerful counters and proving himself to be no pushover.
Briggs trying to finish him right away, as he's done in each of the last 3 bouts. Wilson needs to grab and hold here, George.
Briggs connected with several hooks, but Wilson answered back, showing his resolve. By the 2nd round, Wilson began to unleash his hands more freely, taking advantage of Briggs' lack of head movement. Briggs used his jab well, but started to show signs of fatigue as Wilson found his rhythm. Then, in round 3, Wilson stunned the exhausted Briggs with a clean left hook that knocked him out cold, causing an upset in the heavyweight ranks.
And maybe above the right eye. And that's a big target for Wilson, and he floors Shannon Briggs. Oh, 6! This is over. Tremendous upset victory for Darrell Wilson.
Wilson, who had no amateur background or major backing, became an undefeated sensation. After this victory, Wilson won one more fight before losing to rising star David Tua in September 1996 by knockout, marking his first career loss.
Wilson tries a right hand across the top. Tua lands a short left. First down, Wilson.
The return of Shannon Briggs. After the loss to Tua, Wilson went on to face some of the top names in the division, including scoring 2 upset victories over contenders James Pritchard and Buster Douglas. Meanwhile, Briggs made his comeback, winning 5 straight bouts, including a majority decision over the legendary George Foreman. In 1998, Briggs challenged Lennox Lewis for the WBC heavyweight title, but was unsuccessful.
You know, this guy's shown, hey, I'm just not so he slipped down that time. And that's all. Yeah.
However, he later secured a stunning knockout win over Sergey Liakovich to capture the WBO heavyweight title, proving his resilience in the ring.
But he is really gasping. Big right hand by Briggs. Looking to follow it up with a left. The right down goes Lahovich through the ropes.
James Toney versus Tim Littles on March 5th, 1994. James lights out. Toney defended his IBF super middleweight title against undefeated challenger Tim Littles, known as the Doctor of Styles. Toney had been incredibly active, fighting 43 times over 5 years with just 2 draws on his record. He had already reigned as the IBF middleweight champion before moving up to super middleweight, where he dethroned Iron Barkley in 1993. Littles, the #1 ranked contender with a perfect 24-0 record, had notable wins over Frankie Lyles and John Scully. He came into the fight full of confidence after a dominant win over James Williamson. In round 1, Littles showed off his speed.
More punches. Don't try to knock everybody out. Only was this time. This may give him a little added and maybe too much confidence too early.
Body punching by Tim Littles, a good idea. Right hand by Littles, right on the button.
But Tony quickly adapted to the pace.
Throw that right hand and hook behind it. He can drop Tony.
Another solid right inside by Tony as they exchange punches in the middle of the ring.
Early in this fight to make you think it's going to go for a long time.
Another counter right by Tony. Littles is leaving the left hand out there, and James is coming over the top of it. Now there's a left by Littles.
Keep his movement a little bit more into his shoulders.
Jabs by Littles. That time Tony.
By round 3, Tony figured out Littles' rhythm, and with 30 seconds remaining, he dropped Littles for the first time in his career.
Littles in serious trouble now. Tony trying to choose his shots, and down goes.
Littles tried to recover, but a bad cut over Tony's left eye threatened to stop the fight. However, Tony continued his pursuit of a knockout. In round 4, Tony came out aggressively, dropping Littles twice in the opening minute.
Allowing his fighter to get caught with so many hard shots this early in his career.
Look at the purposefulness of James Toney as he once again puts Littles down.
Littles fought back, but the referee stopped the fight as Tony unleashed a barrage of hard shots. Tony's performance was reminiscent of Sugar Ray Leonard's historic win over Wilfredo Benitez, where Leonard fought through a bad cut to secure the victory.
Shown, maybe now they won't call Sugar Ray Leonard a hype. There it is. He stopped the fight.
Tony retained his IBF super middleweight title, but Littles would make a comeback after this defeat, winning 3 straight before challenging his old rival, Frankie Lyles, for the WBA super middleweight title. Littles was knocked out in the 3rd round and eventually retired with a record of 27-3. Ike Ibeabuchi versus Chris Byrd, the heavyweight showdown. On March 20th, 1999, Olympic silver medalist Chris Byrd faced off against undefeated former WBC international heavyweight champion Ike Ibeabuchi. Byrd entered the ring with an undefeated record of 26-0, having debuted professionally in 1993. His early career included impressive victories over contenders such as Phil Jackson, Lionel Butler, Burt Cooper, Jimmy Thunder, and the previously unbeaten Eliezer Castillo. Ibeabuchi, on the other hand, had a perfect 19-0 record.
Look at the man's record at 20-odd knockouts in the first round.
I told you what has been hidden from the wise and the prudent have been revealed to the babes and the sucklings.
You'd pay to see his fights just to watch him f somebody up. It wasn't a fight, it was an execution.
Turning professional in 1994, he quickly built an impressive record and set up a major showdown with fellow undefeated prospect David Tua for the WBC International Heavyweight title in 1997. Ibeabuchi's stunning win over Tua shot him to the top of the heavyweight ranks. However, legal troubles kept him out of the ring for over a year. When he returned, he resumed his winning ways, knocking out Tim Ray in the 1st round and Everton Davis in the 9th. The fight with Byrd started with Byrd using his elusive boxing style to frustrate Ibeabuchi, preventing him from landing any big punches. As the rounds wore on, however, Ibeabuchi started to land more effectively, with his hard rights beginning to find their target.
Good left hook, Ibeabuchi. Another good left hook. Into 3rd. Now he took this one, I believe. Yeah, he took this one.
In the 5th round, Ibeabuchi cornered Byrd against the ropes and unleashed a savage left hook that sent him to the canvas.
In serious trouble. Ibeabuchi with a monster left hook. Followed it up to the right. And Byrd, for the 2nd time in his career, goes down. Trying to argue with the referee, Ron Rawl, about what...
Byrd argued with the referee, insisting it wasn't a knockdown. But just moments later, Byrd hit the canvas again. With Byrd in no shape to continue, the referee stopped the fight, giving Ibeabuchi a knockout victory. Ibeabuchi's career looked like it was on a clear path to a heavyweight title, but it was tragically cut short due to mental health issues and legal problems, including incarceration. Byrd went on to win his next 4 fights, eventually earning a title shot against WBO heavyweight champion Vitaly Klitschko in 2000. In a massive upset, Byrd defeated Klitschko to win the belt, although he lost it in his first defense to Vladimir Klitschko. Byrd would go on to win the IBF title in 2002 after defeating Evander Holyfield, but he retired in 2009 with a career record of 41-5-1. Frank Bruno versus James Smith. On March 13, 1984, undefeated British fighter Frank Bruno faced off against American James Smith in a scheduled 10-round heavyweight fight. Bruno had turned pro in 1981 and won his first 21 bouts, all by knockout. Smith, after a loss in his first fight, went on a winning streak, improving his record to 13 before traveling to the UK to face Bruno. Bruno dominated most of the rounds, with all three judges scoring him ahead.
Bruno finding Smith's head easy to find. Bruno's left that time spelled trouble. He hurts men with either hand. Saw that right coming. He met him well with the left hook over the top.
But with about 2 minutes remaining in the final round, Smith backed Bruno to the ropes, unloading a series of unanswered punches. Bruno's legs wobbled as Smith continued to land punishing combinations. A final right hand, followed by a left, sent Bruno to the canvas for the first time in his career. Bruno had been behind on points, but failed to follow up on his attack after absorbing the damage. Following the loss, Bruno won his next 6 bouts, claiming the European title in 1985. He earned his first world title shot in July 1986 against WBA champion Tim Witherspoon, but was knocked out in the 11th round. Bruno went on to challenge Mike Tyson for the undisputed heavyweight title in 1989, but lost.
For him, he get tagged again by a right hand. He's trying to hang on to Mike and hit. Mike is just looking for an opportunity to cut loose. Be saved by the bell as the big right hand lands. Tyson knows he's got him in big trouble. If he doesn't answer it, Richard Steele has moved in and has stopped the fight.
In 1993, Bruno again fought for the WBC title against Lennox Lewis, but was knocked out.
Lewis here, and Bruno is on the verge of going. He won't take a lot more, and this time it is stopped, and Lennox Lewis is... And there was no way back from there. No way at all. You may be watching the last moments in the career of one of Britain's most popular fighters.
But you've got to give all respect to him. He put up a marvelous performance. He was so focused. He really went for it. And if this is his song, then he...
Bruno finally won a world title in 1995, defeating WBC champion Oliver McCall by unanimous decision, only to lose it back to Tyson in a rematch in 1996. These epic battles between undefeated fighters prove why boxing is the ultimate adrenaline rush. But hey, we're not just here to knock you out with action. We've got more electrifying fights coming your way. So which of these bouts had you on the edge of your seat? Drop your favorite in the comments. And if you want to stay in the ring with us for more knockout content, hit that like button and subscribe. It's free, and we promise we won't make you do 100 push-ups to join. Just click and you're in.